It is the first Grand Tour of the season, and there is a fittingly illustrious list of contenders to take on what is the 100th edition of the Giro d'Italia this year. It all starts on Friday the 5th of May down in Sardinia and finishes just over 3 weeks later up in Milan. And along the way, the race takes on its traditional mix of very high mountains, very steep climbs, and so-called flat stages, which often throw in a nasty surprise for the sprinters. Coming up though are GCN's top 8 riders to watch in the general classification. And we could only start with one man. That man being Nairo Quintana. The Colombian has managed to persuade his team Movistar to allow him to go for the Giro Tour double in 2017. Now nobody has managed to win both races in the same year since Marco Pantani, and that was now 19 years ago. And many people say it is impossible to do the double in the modern age. Quintana has already won 2 stage races in 2017, including the Tirreno Adriatico. We haven't seen him race in April, but then again, he didn't race in April the year that he won the Giro d'Italia, which was back in 2014. Nairo is the man to beat. On the other hand, Vincenzo Nibali is in fact the better 3-week rider, at least on paper. He has won all 3 of the Grand Tours, including the Giro d'Italia on 2 occasions, and he is in fact the defending champion at this race. Now, he didn't have the best of starts to the season in terms of form, but that is quite normal for Vincenzo. However, he did recently take the overall honours at the Tour of Croatia. Admittedly not the biggest race in the world, but certainly a step in the right direction for the Italian. And with Fabio Aru absent, all Italian hopes are going to rest on the shark's shoulders to bring home the bacon, or indeed the prosciutto, in the 100th edition of the race. Steven Kruijswijk heads up a Dutch armada at this year's race. Last year he came very close to overall victory before that horrific crash on stage 19 saw the pink jersey slip out of his fingers, and indeed the podium too. He ended up finishing in 4th place overall. It remains to be seen whether he can reach those heights or not again this year, but he does have a history of performing at his best at the Giro d'Italia, and it is his main goal again for 2017. Compatriot Tom Dumoulin, meanwhile, is making his 2nd appearance at the race, and he has made it clear that his ambition is to be on the podium in Milan. Now, he hasn't raced as much as most other riders so far in 2017, but he has had a 3rd place in the overall classification in Abu Dhabi and also a 6th place at Tirreno Adriatico. There is no doubt that he will be very good at the individual time trials. However, his ability in the Italian mountains is a bit of an unknown. Reason being that last year he was forced to withdraw from the Giro before the race hit the high mountains due to a saddle sore. However, his 2 very impressive stage wins at the Tour de France last year more than backed up what he'd proven at the Vuelta in 2015, where he came very close to overall victory. So we think that a podium place is more than within his reach. Welshman Geraint finally gets his first chance to lead Team Sky at a Grand Tour. It was his performance at the 2015 Tour de France in support of Chris Froome which prompted him to put 100% of his energies into stage racing and temporarily forego his beloved cobbled classics. And it looks like it is paying off. The Tour of the Alps might not be the biggest race in the world, but he won it overall and he took a stage win in front of some very decent climbers. He's got the strength, he just needs the consistency over the course of 3 weeks. Co-leader at Team Sky though is Mikel Landa. He was 3rd at this race back in 2015, although last year's Giro d'Italia was a big disappointment for the Basque rider. He never quite managed to find his previous level and then was forced to abandon on stage 10 through illness. Now, he hasn't taken a win so far in 2017, but he did ride particularly well with Geraint at the Tour of the Alps, and nothing really would be a surprise with Mikel Landa this year. He could win it overall, he could be relatively anonymous, but if he's on form, he is certain to animate. It was a pretty big surprise to learn that Thibaut Pinot would be targeting the Giro d'Italia this year. The Frenchman has had a lot of success at the Tour de France over the last few years, but at 26 years of age, he has decided to target the Giro and do the race for the very first time. Maybe he didn't relish the pressure that he would be under at the Tour. Maybe he thinks his chances are a lot better at the Giro. Either way, it's the Giro's gain and the Tour's loss. And finally, we have young Adam Yates of ORICA Scott, who unfortunately will no longer be joined by his twin brother Simon after his team moved him over to the Tour de France roster for 2017. You'll remember that Adam had a stupendous ride at last year's Tour de France. He finished just off the podium in 4th place, and he was 21 seconds in fact behind Nairo Quintana, an amazing effort from such a young rider, 23 years old at the time. His best result so far in 2017 has been a 4th place overall at the Vuelta a Catalunya. However, he had been lying in 2nd place overall at Tirreno Adriatico, again behind Nairo Quintana, before he was forced to withdraw the race through sickness, which had spread quickly through the team. Right then, those are our riders to watch in 2017 at the Giro, but who are your favourites for overall victory? Have we missed anyone out? Have we got it wrong? Let's face it, we probably have. Let us know your favourites in the comments section just down below. Oh, and if you would like to purchase a special edition GCN Giro d'Italia t-shirt, then you can visit our shop, shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. You'll find a link to that on the screen right now. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, you can do so by clicking on the globe. And now we've got a couple of videos which you may want to watch. Down here is GCN's big Giro d'Italia preview, including details of some of the key stages. And down here is the latest edition of the GCN show.